Hi there. Long time no see. It's been over 10 years since this video of mine was released, and I decided to give it a notch. Improved looks, improved sound, without even access to original source files. It wouldn't be possible without another project of mine, called Soundworks. Check out the link in description for this video. I really hope this video will make someone's life better, even though it is based on a product that is 12 years old at the moment. Fortunately, the basics didn't change. It's the same Agile, the same Scrum, and if TFS became more complex and fun over these years, the base is still the same, and I would find it interesting as an introduction to TFS. If you have seen the original video, then you are welcome to take a look at the original one and see how new technologies can reshape old contents, and you haven't, then buckle up and hopefully enjoy. Hello and welcome to the first of series of the Team Foundation Server 2010 presentation, and this time it's for developers. My previous presentation was for Quality Assurance Specialist and was focused on Test Manager and how to perform automated tests and work with your testing environment. This time it's for those developers who are working with TFS, creating software and using all the features of TFS. We will cover testing a little too, when I will be showing you the concepts of test-driven development, and we will review unit tests and many other things. In this particular presentation, I'm going to show you how to work with source control in Team Foundation Server, and I found that many people are installing TFS as a replacement for SourceSafe, which is a previous source control from Microsoft that was working for us for many years. However, the source control is just a small part of what TFS is about and what TFS is capable of doing. However, storing the source files and controlling versions is paramount, and it's a basis for everything else for all other features of TFS. These days, in 2022, the most popular source control system used with TFS is Git. New versions of TFS, including Azure DevOps, work with it by default. We'll cover Git later, but in this 10 years old presentation we'll cover of what TFS has to offer natively, and to be honest with you, I still prefer it to Git. Let's start. Let's imagine that you have already installed the TFS and you know how to connect to your TFS project. If not, please either review my previous presentation for Quality Assurance Managers or the short presentation I made just for that. You can find it in the list of videos in my channel, there aren't many. Go to a View menu and open the Team Explorer, which is already open here. Now I'm already connected to my project, but if you are not connected you can use the button Select the Server, or you can press Service button and choose one from collection. Choose the project that you need and then click the Connect Now. We are going to create a new project, and project not in the sense of TFS, where project means a very high-level abstract, but a simple Visual Studio project. In TFS, project could be something much larger than that. For example, a whole Microsoft Office suite could be a project and contain many other projects inside. So we are going to create a new software project, and we are going to work with C#. We are going to create class library and name it Shapes. Now before we will click OK, as we are about to work with source control, we have to click this checkbox so it will be added to source control. Usually, when you are creating a new project and you're the only one who will work with that project for some time and you don't want anyone to interfere with your work, some people tend to not click the source control and to not add their project to the source control and do it later when they are pretty sure they've done everything that had to be done initially, but that's not necessary because you can simply add it to source control, but then check out everything from source control, so you will lock the editing for other users, and so they will not be able to either interfere with your work or see what you are doing now. So we have created a new project. We are adding it to source control. We are adding it to a Sharp project. And when we are adding it to the project, it will create a new folder. In this case it will be named Shape. As you may notice, there is a little sign in Solution Explorer, and this means that this file was added. This plus means that a file was added and it's not in the source control yet, so all we have in the source control and Team Foundation Server is the directory for Shape solution, but not the solution itself yet. Now as we are about to work with shapes, we will rename this class to rectangle. Let's add two properties. It will be double, and one of them will be height. And one of them will be width. So we've added two automatic properties and we are going to save this class. Every time you are working with the project which is in source control, all the changes that you're making are not saved automatically. And in case of a sudden restart, as an example, you can lose your changes. And all these changes are saved in what is called pending changes, and you can view them through View, Other Windows, Pending Changes. So what do you see here is all files in which you have made changes, and change type add means this file is going to be added to the solution in source control, otherwise it would be edit. As the best practice, when you're editing your code, it's better to put something into comments, or at least the reason why you did it, so everyone will see your intentions or some important notes that you would like others to see. In Visual Studio there are many ways to do the same things. For example, you can right-click either solution or project and just click View Pending Changes. You will see the same window and there are many ways, or at least 3 ways, to check in. One from this window, second from menu, and even from any particular file. Talking about best practices. When you are doing check-in, you can enforce some rules on Team Foundation server side, and probably it's a good idea to not allow checking in the code which cannot be built, so that first thing that your local Visual Studio will do is attempt to build the code and only then check into the repository. In that case, with every build, your code will be checked with these rules. By default it is switched off. Switch it on, save your project, and every time you build your project you will see whether you violate some rules, and as you can see in output the code analysis shows 0 errors and 0 warnings, probably because we have no code but empty classes to 2 properties. However, sometimes developers are making mistakes, and these mistakes could go through quality assurance undetected, and fortunately code analysis helps you to discover them and fix before they will do any damage. It could be about coding issues, best practices, even about naming conventions, whatever you prefer. So let's see the pending changes, and let's see what else we have here. First thing is work items. Well, apart from files that you have either changed or added or deleted, there are work items. And work item is an object that can take many shapes, and just like .NET is object-oriented, the TFS is work item-oriented. Work item is the base of most objects you see in TFS. It could be task, bug, or any other type of document. Whatever you are doing, it should have a work item connected to it. When you're doing something, it should have tasks, so someone is giving you a task to create this project, someone is giving you a task to fix that bug, so the task will be linked to bug and your code, your check-in, will be linked to that task, so later, when we will make build of that code in TFS server, you'll see that this build contains 10 check-ins, and each of these check-ins is connected to such tasks, and task is connected to bug, and perhaps this means that this bug is resolved in this build, so there is a big logical link from task to code to released binary, and that's why we need these work items. They are showing the reason why you did something, and again, as the best practice as a TFS administrator, you should switch on the rule which does not allow check-ins which are not linked to work items. If you cannot find the work item, ask either your project manager, or if you have such privileges, create the work item yourself. Create the task that says that you should do what you've done. It only takes a minute or two, but it will bring great order to your project and will add visible reason to what you are doing. So we are going to link this code to a previously created work item. It's empty at the moment, but we will go and check for my tasks. Here we are. So, these are all tasks that are assigned to me. Currently there are 10 tasks, and here is the one I needed. Create a class library called shapes. You can go to that task if you want to and see who created it, how much time was assigned to it, how much time is remaining, and how many hours were already spent. And important thing here is that your screen might look differently because of different templates that we are using in TFS, so this is the default Agile template, but if you are using the Microsoft Scrum template, there will be no such thing as time management, so the original estimate will disappear. Now I check the checkbox of this task, so I'm linking what I have done to this task, then in check-in action I'm selecting resolved if the task should be marked as completed. Otherwise I would select associate, which means that this is an intermediate result, not the final yet. When I click resolve, this will close the task and it will mark it as completed. Now just as I said that it's the best practice to put something into comment, let's do it. And it's nearly everything that we needed. We can click here if all the policies are satisfied. These policies are what the administrator of TFS is setting, like you should build before you check in, or if during the build your Visual Studio should perform code analysis. And there are no conflicts in this workspace, meaning I'm not trying to rewrite something that was updated during my work. There are no conflicting changes for the same file. So I can just check in. And now as you can see, all files change their icons to have small lock on them, and this means that they became read only for me. I cannot make changes here. Which is good. In fact, the settings in this particular Visual Studio are set so that it will automatically check out for edit when I'm trying to edit. In your particular Visual Studio you may find that it will ask you whether you want it. Here it is. Checkout automatically, or we can prompt for checkout or prompt for exclusive checkouts, which means no one else will be able to edit the same file. So it was checked out automatically, but we can undo it. When you are an administrator of TFS, you are able to perform some administrative tasks right from Visual Studio. As I mentioned, the check-in policies, you can create them right from here, from Team Explorer. Just right-click on your project, go to Team Project Settings, and here for example, you can add new members to your project and edit areas and iterations, portal settings, and in this case we need the source control, so you can do many things right from Visual Studio without going to SharePoint portal. If you need something from portal you can click Show Project Portal and go there. So we'll click the source control, and here we have the check-in policy. We can add as many policies as we want. Just click Add. And there are 4 types of check-in policies, such as you can check whether the unit tests were running, and the specified list of tests is running fine on your code before you can check in, or that code analysis is running before check-in, or the code builds before check-in, and if the work item is associated with every check-in. So we are selecting work item, and by the way, as I said, you can set as many policies as you wish, and we see only 4 here. It's only because 4 of them were installed, and you can install third-party check-in policies or write your own. It's very extendable, but in this particular case we have 4 of them, and usually it's enough. We are creating the work item policy, and it cannot be even edited. It's very simple. It's a boolean, meaning that yes, we must have work item associated with each check-in. I'll just click OK and the policy is set. No one can check in anything without associating with a work item anymore. Now let's open one of our other tasks and perform some changes to the project and test whether it really works. Now we'll open Work Items, Team Queries, My Tasks, just double-click it. Here's the list of my tasks, and I will choose the one with a Create Area property on rectangle. And here in description there is some code that I will insert into my class. I automatically checked out the code. Let's make it public, double, area, and it will be read-only property get. I'll just make some changes to adjust the code in the task to reality of the class. Give me a moment. Let's build it. It builds, no errors so far. Now let's see pending changes. Okay, so we've edited the rectangle.cs, and now we have to check it in, and let's type it in comment. That's so we implemented the area property. And now, without associating with work item, we just click check-in. Whoops, we cannot. However, we can override the check-in, and allowing overrides may cause some issues if people will exploit it. In my experience, they usually don't, but if they do, just speak to them. There are many valid scenarios when you would want the override option to be available, for example when you don't have required prerequisites to build this project on this workstation or you made some minor changes and you know that on all other machines it will build and you must submit these changes as fast as possible. In other words, don't set the rules you don't need and don't violate the rules you have. So, let's associate this change with one or more work items. Our query is still open, that's very good, but let's click refresh. All of them are still here, and our task is create area property on rectangle. We set the check-in action to resolve, which means that the task will be closed. Let's check in now. Very good, so we checked in and the task was closed. It's no longer in our list of active tasks, and the default query of my tasks shows the tasks that are in active state, which means they're not closed yet, and this allows you to see what tasks you still have opened, and in fact in a normal environment you also see the priority, so you can prioritize your work items. As you probably remember, it was a task with ID of 10, so we are going to open that task now. Just go to Team menu, then click the Go to Work item, and ID was 10. And here you will see the associations done by Team Foundation server for you. If you go to all links now you will see the link changes, and here the only one that you see is a changeset. The changeset is the collection of all changes you've done during your check-in. So it was changeset 23, and all these changesets are then associated to builds when TFS is building your projects. And when build is marked as a release, in release notes you will see that this release is linked to these changesets, meaning your check-ins. And these check-in changesets are linked to tasks linked to either backlog items or bugs, or whatever has to be done. So in the end you see the direct link between what was shipped to the customer and what was requested by customer. It really helps in creating the documentation for each release, and for example in Scrum methodology you are performing releases each sprint. Sprint is about 2 to 4 weeks, so every 2 or 3 weeks you are performing some intermediate release, and you must also create some sort of documentation for it. Like what was done, what backlog items or customer requests were performed and fulfilled, what bugs were solved and so on, so this linking is very helpful. So, what we see here is a changeset 23, and all lists here in TFS are active, so you can double-click it and you see what was done by you during the check-in, so that's why your comment is quite important. You cannot change it here, it's read only. Let's go to our source control. You will see how it looks like. Pretty much like repository in a source safe. What we'll do now is we will apply a label to our shapes folder. I'll speak about what labels are in a second. It's pretty much like a tag. This label will state that a property is implemented and that I've added the area property to the rectangle class in Shapes project, and I will attach this label to a changeset23. In this case we can find if the ID I remember is correct. We can either create or create and edit, but I'm just creating it. Now, when I right-click this folder and I'm selecting View History, and there are changesets, and there will be a huge amount of changesets in your real environment, there is also Labels tab, and there are labels which help you to find required change much easier. For example, the change when your application became compatible with particular third-party service, or changed reference to prerequisite, or particular feature was implemented. Anything you like. I'm surprised people are still not using labels much. That's it for the first presentation, and on second one we are going to talk about source control in more details. Thank you for watching and have a great day.